Hello everybody, and welcome to another Musings. We are currently robbing this abandoned village. We have a pretty full inventory, so it's not like there's a whole lot I would even want to take from here. But if there's anything like like a diamond in a chest or something, no. Oh wait, that was interesting. Was that like a large fern and some spruce? Actually, no. As I was just saying, we have those little fox squeak. Oh, a couple little foxes. Nice. So. And with the wild berries, I believe, 'cause I have wild berries. I wonder if I think that's what they eat. Can we breed some wild foxes? Yeah, and where'd the other one go? You gotta be kind of like sneaky with it, and I don't know how easy it is to breed because like now they're triggered to try to find another fox, but that one went. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. So now they find each other. There we go, and then a little baby fox. Yeah. Oh. Ah, dang it! I was too slow. Is this the one? Yeah. And look at you, little kind of. Well, either way, I mean, there we go. We have a nice little fox family. Cool. But we can breed foxes later, and that's actually one of the hardest things that Waddles does. Well, sorry, a lot of spoilers there, but yeah, Waddles does like a whole episode on getting a fox. So I won't tell you anything more about it. You can go check it out. But I really need to start adding links. Like, I really need to do a lot of things with these things. But anyways. The main thing that I wanted to do on the musings today was just kind of reiterate a point that we've been drilling home for, well, this whole season. Is just people are people. And no matter what, just remember at the other end of an argument, a pointed finger, hopefully not like a loaded gun, but, on the other end of whatever, the business end is another person, someone. And it sounds hokey, like when you say it like that, because everybody's been trying to say this too because it's kind of hard to believe. So sometimes people act in ways that are just ridiculous that we just cannot fathom. And by that I mean what their behavior is like at that moment, in that snapshot of time, like that instance, And it could be, a certain time period, like a minute, 5 minutes. Like, let's think back to that video, for those that have been watching for a while, that Joanne Fabrics. Like, and actually, I made a short about it too, because it was a meme about this lady in Joanne Fabrics, and she said, or it was a Facebook post, and it was this like older lady, and she said, "The way I acted in Joanne Fabrics is not becoming of who I am. I apologize for my behavior." And it was just so funny because, and I know I keep saying like it's almost like a marketing thing for. I'm not being sponsored by anyone, especially Joanne Fabrics, but like, not saying anything against them, but just saying. But no, it's like um it's someone in her element, maybe having a bad day, maybe hungry. I mean, hangry is a real thing. Hanger is a real thing. And then we think about like, oh, well, we've already fed the hungry. Like, there's food. Well, yeah, but there's not like great food. And so for that, I can understand like people who panhandle. But then at the same time, like I just assume it's all for drugs and like, which is a shame. Or alcohol. I mean, alcohol is probably like the actual main reason. In fact, one of the subways I worked at for the longest time, we had resident homeless people. Like they had homes. They were right behind, our subway. And that's because people would frequent the subway. They'd have a little bit of money and they'd be like, yeah, what's a couple of bucks? Well, and usually by a subway, there's a liquor store. So you've got all your stops, it's supposed to be convenience for people. And, and again, even alcohol, I keep talking like it's the enemy, but it is like, an invention by people to make people feel good. But at the same time, it's just such an easy, slippery slope to where you don't feel good. And it's also, well, I mean, same thing, same reason people get addicted to opiates is like, it's because it causes temporary relief and euphoria that can't be surpassed. Like, because you're saturating your receptors. Um, once your receptors are saturated, you can't actually achieve that feeling. So again, South Park has an episode on it. It's the gaming one where they're playing Guitar Hero, and it's like, and it's called Randy Marsh starts playing Guitar Hero, and it's so addicting and everything. And like people joke about, oh, this game is so addicting, and I could even say that with Minecraft, like because it's the pleasant feelings that it induces, like the interaction with like this one specifically, puzzles and problem solving. Like all I'm doing is problem solving. Like my tools need to be healed or like repaired. For that, I had to solve many problems. Like, I had to build an enchanting table. I had to invest the time to get all the levels. I had to get the books. I had to get the leather. I had to get the paper. And then you break it down to the finest, like, detail of, like, oh, I just had to keep playing. And I had some random goals in mind and was able to construct some really cool things and enjoy myself while I'm doing it too. Because this is like meditation. I mean, and it is important. Like, if you want to, and that's why I love sorry, I keep splitting, keep branching the thoughts, but I love the idea of, and I'm still looking into it, how to gift Minecraft. Like, there's got to be an easy way. Like, there's got to be some place where you can get just a code. But then there's also the problem with what platform. So I was even just now looking into it and like preparing for, doing the deal. I also got to still keep looking into like if that's even, I don't know, the legalities of it because people, do like random like prizes, giveaways, like, I'll give, the first person and whatever. This kid was bold enough to like drop a comment on some pretty adult Minecraft videos. So I'm a little worried about that. And I apologize to a homeboy's parents if you ever, I don't know. I mean, because the other time, or I mean, at the same time, I'm confident that there's not going to be anything that I wouldn't be greatly worried if my kids stumbled upon this. And that's how I judge everything. Even those couple of times I swore, like their mom and I swear in front of them. I mean, not a lot, but like sometimes in driving, it might slip out. And it's like, in fact, great example. Here we go, parenting moment. So I had just had a flat tire, right? I had just changed it, and I even know what caused the flat tire. I was lazy, and I parked on a piece of material at work, and this was when I built wind turbine blades, and a piece of a wind turbine blade was like in the parking lot. I mean, it wasn't like, I don't know. That's kind of a bad description. They did keep a very clean factory. Don't get me wrong. Like, but it was just like this piece, and it wasn't even a finished product, mind you. I mean, that would be like almost. No, it was. Anyways, the point is I had a flat tire and I changed it at work. And I was at a job that was paying me it was like $12 an hour because it was a contract job through a temp agency. So I was double contracted out because initially it was just a temp job. Like I was going to work at a call center. And I did for a little bit. And it was this really cool company. I don't know. Should I say that? I don't know. 'Cause it's almost like advertising it. Nah, what the heck? I'll go ahead and say it. It was KiwiCo. And KiwiCo is like this really cool company that mails you little science kits or little learning kits. And it's great, although I am concerned about like kind of like the waste factor. But it's all made out of like recycled materials, I'm pretty sure. But they are really cool science kits. And that way, I mean, I don't know, and they're pretty cheap, like for what it is. Like it's pretty cool. They get like hydraulics or just really robotics, like early robotics. Anyways, my point is it was a call center job, so that was supposed to be the people handling that and like several other people. So, but then once they found out I had a tech degree, they're like, oh, well, we actually have this other client, and it was a great client. Don't get me wrong, but oh wait, I'm also doing that thing again where I just keep swimming. But the dolphins are pushing me, so this is kind of like I feel like I'm going as fast as like if I were, wait, right? No, I think the dolphin had enough, but well, you can follow me though. Anyways, sorry. The parenting moment. So I had a flat tire. I contracted over at this other company. It was, the aerospace company, and then it was but they only paid me a little bit, and they were actually being pretty generous. They actually paid me more. I think it was actually like 17 an hour or 15 an hour for the actual thing. But then like my temp agency's cut was like $3 or $4 an hour, and then the original temp agency got some, and it was just like, what I ended up with was $12 an hour. So, which I knew was good for the time, and it was an entry level job, mind you. It was a tier one, level one, like IT help desk position, which really I suggest everybody, and even call centers, as annoying as they can be, if you're really patient and if you're patient with the people, and it's actually like it's called verbal judo as part of like, and not all the way. Like I haven't actually read more than the first couple chapters of the book, but I know somebody that used to teach it in prisons, and what verbal judo is where it's kind of sounds a little misleading. Like you think like, oh, you're going to use your words to fight someone, but no, it's actually like the art of using language to disarm an ugly conversation before it happens, like for both people. So it actually should be like conversation diffusion or something, but verbal judo is just a catchy name, and it's like, and a lot of correctional officers learn it because they have to deal with people that are going through really rough times in their lives. Now, see, that's the thing. People don't realize that people in prison, they're still people. Like they made a mistake. Now, whatever the mistake may be, they made a mistake. Like, and of course, and we like to think that only the worst kind of people go to prison. And, and sometimes that's true, sometimes, but oftentimes even that, like it's their third, fourth, fifth time. So, like, there are several points in that person's life and career and everything, like their legacy, to where they could have had a diversion. They could have had different treatment options, different recovery options, like for whatever it may be. Because let's face it, most people that are in trouble either have or develop substance abuse issues. And let's also face it, most people that aren't in trouble have substance abuse issues, at least have substance use. I mean, like it's very rare to find someone, unless they've really experienced things, then to be like, oh, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling about there. We were talking about the bad words and the kids. So I ran over a piece of metal after I just changed a tire, and I wasn't getting paid a lot of money. So it was really expensive to go get another tire, and I didn't want to, and because I just did it, and then yeah, luckily I didn't get a second flat, but I dropped the F bomb, and I had the kids in the car. This was when they were really little, very impressionable, and I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if it was that time or I talked to my co-parent about it, and she said that yeah, she accidentally said the F bomb too in front of them. So we couldn't figure out which time, and that's just saying like what we knew. Like our relatives around them, like if they could accidentally did something, stubbed their toe, like just accidentally said it real quick, and then goes oops and looks up, or like in that movie Meet the Parents, where Ben Stiller accidentally says the bad word and the kid just latches onto it. And so it's like, it really happens. And anyways, my point is they dropped the F bomb at daycare when they were like toddlers. So, and I don't think they understood what it meant. They're just like, oops, like something happened. And they just treated it like an oops. And the daycare lady, like, kind of was like laughing, like, told us about what happened. Well, at first she was concerned, but then she was just kind of chuckling about it, like, because it is. And that's why I call them adult words, because really, I mean, they're for adults. And it's only because people don't understand the gravity until they're a little older. And I say that, and maybe adult is just like, that's just the line in the sand that we drew. I mean, honestly, especially with these gun debates or like discussions I've been having with people on the Twitters, like, we should really be raising the age for everything. And I always say that, and like, but we should have a compromise, because I don't know, that whole like 18 to 21-year-old range, that is like the most like alive and like, get frisky, like got to go out and got to go do stuff. And I don't know. So it's also a very dangerous time because, yeah, like there's, people say a lot of like famous people die young. Well, that's because they were given the world and they weren't able to handle it. Like with great power comes great responsibility. And if you went from like slaving and struggling along, like, or working hard, and you gotta remember, like movie stars and musicians, most of them do have a pretty gnarly backstory of, even like abuse to get to where they are. And that's why, part of why like you see most of them cry when they accept awards, because it really is like you finally won the lottery. Like, I mean, you were able to do something. Oh, that was probably a bad idea. Anyways, you were able to do something that was deemed worthy enough to be rewarded with so much. And that's the other thing too, is like I feel like that whole structure, which is kind of like what was I just calling it? An un I had a really cool phrase for it. It was in it wasn't feasible. That's basically what I'm trying to say, but it wasn't a good business model, basically. Um, It wasn't sustainable. There you go. It wasn't a sustainable business model, just like the FANG jobs. Like, yeah, it's great. If you work for Google, you better be smart. But here's the thing, the average person off of the street nowadays, with the right resources, can become just as smart as any graduate. And that's painful because I am a graduate. However, it's all about determination, because what is a degree but determination and money? So money, time, and determination. So, because again, anybody can do it. Like, it's not like some magical thing. Like, and there's a big, gap in the definition of being able to do it. Like, there are like C's get degrees is kind of like a common thing that people say, or even like D's get degrees I've heard, which is even kind of more ridiculous, I think. I didn't get too many C's, although one of my favorite quotes was from one of my favorite professors that I actually met with to kind of beg for my grade because I thought I was going to get a D in her class. And she later said this, and I don't know if she remembered me or if it was kind of a thing. Like, I wouldn't care it either way because she was right. We were doing this expo, and she was looking around, And it wasn't even after she looked at my poster, but like it could have been a few. Ours wasn't that great. And she said something. She's like, I wouldn't trust my life to a C student. And that hit home because computer code, if depending on which application it's being written for and developed for, could be controlling trains, planes, automobiles, nuclear weapons. Like, oh, that's the one that I'd really like to just go away. But and we're working on it. We're getting there. I mean, if we don't do World War III first, but oh, and that I hopefully I'm just kidding, but I don't know. We've got a bit of cleaning house to do here, and then I feel like this country is going to be a little more sensible, or it already is. Like every time we have a Democratic president, like I feel like a little more like the world breathes a little more at ease because the thing is like the Republicans are like in bed with the NRA and the military industrial complex. Not saying it's a bad, I mean, it is a bad thing, but I understand how, and I want to try to help to fix it. But like we got to face it. Like as soon as war is over, there's going to be a lot of industries that go kaput overnight. Um, and I think we're seeing it with the whole Ukraine thing. Like now that we have such instant communication technology, like we can share videos around the world instantly as things happen. That it's almost like every time someone gets shot or gets blown up, it's like, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this. And like now it's like making even like the farthest corners of the earth, I feel like, although I say that, but there's still a lot of places that don't have good tech. I mean, I look at a device in my pocket every now and then and I get the world news at my fingertips. Like, and I get it like three ways till Sunday. I get it on my computer, like, while I'm working and stuff. I get news updates and like, so I'm very connected with what's going on and what's also being tried to made seem go on. Because like now that we have news as like a pull versus a push method, like we request the news when we want it and then we choose when we don't want it. And that's a wonderful thing. Like, and again, I don't fault them too much for making like 30-minute TV shows with like 10 minutes of commercials. So like 1/3 of your life was advertising. But that was the best that we could do. Like if we had things like YouTube, like even these videos, you watched an ad before and you chose to skip it, or maybe you decided to watch it and maybe you bought a product after it. But honestly, like, and it is real. Like I bought a bunch of Prime after my kids saw some Prime ads. So right there, and I'm okay with it. It was tasty. Like I'm a little leery about the energy drink because I will say this, like energy drinks are unhealthy for you. It's just they flat are. They'll make your heart pop if they're not. And like, not every time, but there used to be a drink called Spike. And I will say this because I don't even know if there's still a thing, but they have it on the can. Like you can only drink, actually that might be slander. They have it labeled on the can. You can only drink, or you're supposed to only drink half of the can. And this is a tiny can, mind you. But you're only supposed to drink half a can in one sitting or one serving. And then, no more than one can a day. So at most you can split it over time, which sounds like such a drug user, like substance abuser thing. Like, okay, I have this substance. It's like juicers. Sorry, in the game Rifts, let's talk about that real quick. So there's Dungeons and Dragons, and then there's Rifts. And Rifts is like the space age Dungeons and Dragons. That's the only one I've actually played. And I ended up just being a murder hobo player. Like, I was young, I was stupid. I was like, oh, let's get free money. Like, they don't matter. And that was a blatant thing. Like, especially if I could tell my younger self, be like, hey, now, and that's why it was probably so shocking to my, because it was my cousin and his older friend. Like, I was the young kid that they, like, allowed to hang out with them. Gracefully, though, too, mind you. They were cool about it. And I botched it. Like, I don't know. It was, well, actually, I wouldn't say botched it, but I was just like, let's beat up hobos and let's get money. Because I was like, well, hey, here's some instant. Because that's what I would do in a video game sometimes. It depends on the game. Like, because I don't know, I say that, but like right now, I wouldn't get out and punch that dolphin. Even though I could get experience from it, and maybe it even drops a magical item. I wouldn't know because I've never killed a dolphin. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I would remember if I did, because I don't think I've even done it in creative. Because usually when I'm spawning animals even, which is very rare, like, it's not water animals. Like, it's something, I don't know. But, my daughter, on the other hand, she did a bunch of animals and stuff, and she found out that wolves kill sheep, so that's always a fun story. Taught her young about the life cycle, or the circle of life. But, Disney's been doing that too. We have the circle of life with Simba, and then, Mufasa dies, and sorry if you haven't seen that. That was major spoilers, but, like, all things need to come to an end, and you don't need to worry about that, until much later, hopefully. And see, that's the other problem. Like, as people are gaining awareness and communication is getting better, like, I mean, we were always aware that people were in poverty and suffering, and we do what we can to try to help. But honestly, a lot of us over here are pretty poor ourselves. Like, The majority of Americans, like 97%, are living paycheck to, not really. It's like 67 or 70 something, but are living paycheck to paycheck. And honestly, like even my situation, like for anything big, I have to wait, and I have to plan out, which really everybody should. I mean, that's the real responsible way to be with your money. But you're not responsible until your brain's fully developed, and that's not until you're 25, at least. Sometimes it could be out later to 30. I feel like I'd have to look that up to know for sure, but I heard from a rehab, like it was like the CAC 3 or whatever. Yeah, it sounds weird to say, but um, it's like the highest level of rehab specialist that you can do. So he knows what he's talking about. And that's how I know all this other stuff too. Is like, any kind of addictive drug or alcohol or cigarettes, like all of them are the same. Your pleasure centers like release chemicals, and your brain thinks that the same chemicals you get when you like win first place in a foot race or get the highest score on a test, or it's like bottled up emotions, which is very dangerous for you. Like, I mean, because your body's not meant to handle that much emotion. We are naturally designed to have a reward system to where we, answer the call to nature. That's a reward system. That's why it feels good when you go sometimes. Like, when you eat food, that feels good. That's why we have such a problem with obesity in America. Or at least we did. I don't know. I feel like that's even getting better, but it was because that's one way to pleasure yourself or to gain those chemicals in your brain is to eat food, especially fatty foods, like because that triggers your body. Like, yeah, it's definitely like solving the issue, like your hunger, and it's gaining layers of fat because your body. Oh, there's another ruined portal. Yeah, there's a lot of these. Not a lot of temples though. That's what I was kind of hoping for on this one. I don't know. I feel like not a lot of luck too here, just judging from what's left on the map. But anyways, yeah, food, other things, extreme sports, other things, and then substances. Yeah. That's why, yeah, alcohol is so accepted yet dangerous. And that's why it's probably the most dangerous substance of them all, just because it's available everywhere. There is no black market for it, except for if you're underage. And even then, like, so in my parents' generation, they had what was called 3-2 beer. And that was 3.2% alcohol in the beer. So that just meant you had to drink twice as much to get just as drunk. So that's all it was. It was basically allowing minors 18-year-olds to drink because we still wanted to keep it. And mind you, Saudi Arabia, it's still illegal to drink. And I had a lot of friends in college from Saudi Arabia. And, yeah, it's just, they're just used to a world where you can't drink. And then they come to America and drinking's everywhere. And then it's just like, definitely a culture shock, I'm sure. And they were still good. They behaved. But anyways, you think I'd tell you if they didn't? No, I'm just kidding. No, please don't. Because here's the thing, alcohol, as much as I hate it, it is a part of human history. It's not a great part. It's a part I could do without, but that's because I've lived it, I've experienced it, and I understand it. And so then I'm like, meh, not impressed. But for people that don't have that experience, like specifically kids, unfortunately, like at the impressionable age, and that's the other thing is like if we raise voting, military, and drinking all to 25, like we'd get a lot more kids in trouble, but so we'd be punishing a lot more because it is human nature, Geronimo, to seek these things out, to explore these things. And so we used to have it to where 18 years old was pretty good for an adult. Like you were already, by that time you already needed to be making a living and adding to the family or whatever. But then as time goes on, it's more like I feel like we can afford a little more wiggle room. Like be able to try to plan out for actually wait. I'm trying to figure out how we got to go here. So we actually got to cut up that way. But I am against the wall and I did want to kind of it's a cool village. It's a very cool village. You got any brooding stands? All because I'm just too lazy to actually go into the nether off of peaceful. I mean, I can do it. I've done it. I've killed the ender dragon multiple times. I've killed a wither with somebody. I don't think I've ever killed the wither solo. Okay, yeah. I'm going to take your emerald. Sorry. Yeah, judge me. I'll probably come back and do that or not. But that's the other thing too is like, ugh. Simulation is what we would do without consequences. But if we were playing this like to the T, I would be marking this on the map, coming back and bringing like a whole stack of emeralds. But that's the thing, like it's not going to affect the outcome. However, in real life, if we were gonna and see even on a I don't know, it's complicated. Like, for people that don't understand a game isn't a game, like, it's kind of weird because we do, that's how we do psychology experiments, is we do these little games to test what people will do. And I've seen a lot of them. I took psychology like 4 times. I'm just kidding. That doesn't mean that I learned 4 times as much. It just means it took me 4 times as long to actually pass. I got in. Oh wait, no. Psychology was the one that I don't think I repeat deleted. But I did art, intro to visual art, repeat delete, business calculus, repeat delete, and what was the third one? There was a third one, but all three of them were straight A's over a summer semester. So I only had like, so many weeks for each. Like one class was 8 weeks, and then the two other ones were 4 weeks each. So at one time I had an overlap of like one really intense class and then one like almost as intense but only half as much. Because they're really good at planning out their time. I mean, these people are professionals. They get, this is their career. That's what they get paid to do. But and no, that's why the other thing is like you can't replace a college degree. It is like a very valuable, and it's also valuable because of the time too. And I wonder if that isn't part of it. Is like take you out of society for the danger times. That's also kind of like the military too. Like the times that you're more liable to be violent or reckless or make poor decisions, where your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed. Which again, for those in the back, it's not until you're 25 till you're 30. That's about the range, like mid to late 20s. And I feel like I don't even think mine was developed until like a couple years ago. I'm 35. Like, honestly, I mean, I know I was smart. I've always been smart, but like that doesn't mean I always made good decisions. I mean, maybe that was even a bad thing. Maybe I was too smart and I understood how to manipulate systems. That's a common thing for hackers, which I'd like to say that that's my claim to fame and why I'm a cybersecurity professional now, but it isn't. I never hacked NASA, never tried, never wanted to. Well, because I was scared of, and I figured it'd get caught. Like, I mean, maybe not at the beginning, but like, I don't know. The military budget is like the only place where you are guaranteed to have like the best of the best. But at the same time not, because then you got to remember like the upkeep and the maintenance for all those people like having lifelong benefits. And that is a thing. Like the military does a lot of good. What, did I? Okay. It's like I swear I set an alarm, but it just feels like maybe we've just been covering a lot of ground in this, but yeah, no, psychology experiments are basically games to see what people will do, and they're very interesting. Like there's even this one, the ghost limb. I love it. Like go look it up, go YouTube it, and credit to the author. I don't know how to even do that because I did see something a few times where it's like, published journals are free if you reach out to the author and they would love to share their work with you. They'd actually get usually delighted. So it was saying something like reinforcing, like, please do, if you want to learn something about someone's research, ask them and they'll send you a copy if they're able to or something. But at the same time, the people paying for the research, they have to sell the work to pay for the research. So that is kind of like their salary. That's what put food on their table while they were learning things and this is all for the greater good, mind you. Like, when a scientist is published, they're publishing that for the scientific community to learn from. So those are more shoulders for people to stand on, like to help us keep going further. So I don't know. I feel like that needs to be said because like there is this kind of sense of like you go to college, you're lazy and worthless. Well, no. And I actually know someone who's published and like he's done a couple biology papers, I believe, and he was actually trying to develop some code for aiding in mapping. And now even Borderlands had that interactive game, which is basically like a psychology experiment about mapping the human genome. And to be honest, I feel like a lot of these games are kind of keeping some track of that, but at the same time, I don't know. And this is nothing new. We had the Colosseum. I mean, we have this in the history books. Like people are curious, and then there is this kind of like another chemical release, your fight or flight mechanism. So when you see danger, that's why scary movies are so entertaining because it's like it gives you a rush, it gives you a thrill, like it actually gets you, well, high. Not high, like obviously, but like your brain. Same with the extreme athletes, adrenaline junkies. That's really true because, and I used to be a snowboarder. I used to love snowboarding. I still do, but I'm not good at it anymore, and I definitely can't afford it anymore. And I can only afford it then because I worked at the mountain. So I sacrificed my time and my effort and a lot of my days, a lot of my time actually, and effort too to get up there. And I would spend all of my money too just in gas. And I had like I would give people rides and make them pitch in on gas, but not make them. I mean that was just understood, like because we all worked there, and I had a working car. So not only a working car, we invested in studded snow tires, which are $700 just so I could not slide in the snow and ice. So, anyways, that's my time. We'll cut it for now. We're almost done exploring this map, but we already found a desert temple. I almost feel like we're gonna have to explore another map, but I do have some things I need to do tonight. So I'm gonna take a break. I'll see you in a bit. Ta ta.